On behalf of all assembled here today, I should now like to invite Dr. Jerome Dempsey to address Convocation.
I was having a chat there with Dean Garland, excuse me. Good afternoon. Greetings to President Chakma, Chancellor Cowan, Dean Garland, to faculty, friends, families. Congratulations to the graduates of 2019. I am thrilled to return home to share this landmark occasion with you. First, graduates, I'd like to address your vocational life after Western, with a special message to those among you whose academic records at Western maybe were less than ideal. While a student here 60 years ago, my encounters with Western's leaders were not as rewarding as suggested by Professor Kowalczyk's kind words today. For example, in my employment as Western's swim meet announcer, I was fired by the athletic director in the middle of a meet. I thought the job was a little boring and to jazz it up a bit. Apparently he didn't appreciate my horse race style of announcing, and especially my singling out my friends for praise for their performances, even when they finished well back in their races. Then the chair of the history department publicly admonished my friend and me, sitting right down there, for selling study notes for the freshman history course, which we had copied from an excellent honors student. The good news was that subsequent to this condemnation, our sales tripled. Combined with my mediocre grades at Western, these events didn't foretell a promising future. Nonetheless, on balance, my experience at Western was highly, highly positive and life-changing because of the inspiring faculty encountered. My interactions with the late Professor Michael Uhas were the pinnacle of my Western experience. Mike was a pioneer in the fitness movement in the late 1950s. He cared deeply about researching and spreading the value of a healthy lifestyle to the masses, and his high energy and devotion to the cause swept some of us willing students along with him on this exciting adventure. Mike's fashion was complemented by the teaching style of his colleague, Professor Jack Fairs, a master coach who demanded all-out efforts and attention to detail in his students and athletes, irrespective of their level of talent. The model presented by these two Western faculty of an enduring devotion to one's profession shouted out to me to settle for nothing less than a vocation that maintains my excitement and a desire to keep learning and improving. I am thrilled that Nancy, Mike's wife, Mike Jr., Peggy, and Jack Fairs are here today. I warn you that you are unlikely to realize your ideal vocation immediately after leaving Western, and there will be multiple adjustments along the way. In my own case, it took several years in and out of graduate schools and jobs before I was convinced that being a scientist was how I wanted to spend most of my time. Even after some early minor success, I had a period 8 to 9 years after leaving Western in which everything went wrong. Nothing seemed to work, and I was failing my students and colleagues. I even tendered my resignation. Fortunately, my department chair and mentor at the University of Wisconsin, a wonderful man, convinced me to try a different approach rather than give up the profession completely. The lesson here was to use failure as a catalyst for change and improvement. The other lesson was to seek insight from those that know you and care about you. So over a year's time, I drastically changed my approach to science, culminating in my participation in a decade-long scientific controversy, which taught me the essence of the scientific process and how I best fit into it. Risky for sure, but life-changing. Thereafter, I moved from an independent, egocentric style of conducting science to stressing collaboration and colleagues. Mentoring became a top priority. I even found that if I listened, I could learn a lot from students. Big revelation to me. Today, I am most proud of the young men and women, including several Canadians and Western grads, that our team trained and nurtured to become independent scientists and teachers. My point here is that you're able to orchestrate positive changes when you're within your chosen profession, as you learn and reinvent your mission by taking risks. Embrace the challenges, the unexpected twists and turns. Everyone here has a unique story and a different timeline. You alone must determine what and when your next act will be. And if your choices differ from the norm, or from what others might expect of you, be reassured by the old adage, those who dance are often considered mad by those who can't hear the music. Now I'd like you to consider your interdependence with others as you discover your best self. At some time, all of us have had the opportunity to meet certain people who radiate joy. These are those people who are delighted by small pleasures, grateful for larger ones. They're not perfect, but they live for others beyond themselves. Life isn't easy for them as they take on others' burdens, but in this service they have a joy beyond just the moment. Some of my favorite people committed to interdependence are public school teachers who choose to teach children from families living in poverty. Many live desperate lives, hanging by a thread just for day-to-day survival. These teachers offer a unique model, an array of hope for these students for a life of learning and values beyond mere subsistence. It is an unrelenting, often thankless struggle to teach in these environments, yet the teachers I have encountered never seem to deviate from the respect and caring they show every day for these children and their families. Seeking change through social engagement can also be a worthwhile venture in interdependence with others. When I first moved to the US, near your age, the major culture shocks I experienced were widespread racism and a country immersed in a senseless war in Southeast Asia. I participated to a limited extent in the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s, in the anti-war free speech movement, and in black student protests. My heroes were Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, and Nelson Mandela. Exciting, heady stuff for young minds that provided an in-depth education in the affairs of the real world. Today, I would hope some of you would choose to confront some of our persistent societal ills. Combating racism and sustaining a livable environment and democratic freedoms remain at the top of my list. From my perspective, as a teacher and mentor of young adults for 5 decades, I firmly believe your generation, by far and away, is more capable than any other to date to lead these crucial struggles. For my personal commitment to interdependence, I discovered that one-on-one interaction suited my talents. So I spent a few decades involved in the mentoring of fatherless boys and girls, a selfish undertaking motivated by my own childhood experience. This commitment has given so much back, more than it cost, intertwining me with our community and with wise and committed volunteers. It also provided my family and me with enriching, in-depth experiences within the complex lives of these children and their families. So somewhere in your busy life's journey, perhaps when the search for your vocational niche has been at least partially realized, I hope you consider expanding your life experiences through a commitment to others in a way that suits your special needs and talents. I guarantee you, you will feel most fully alive and come to be your best self when you are working with others in the advance of an ideal. Finally, I want to single out your parents and grandparents and friends who have supported you. Graduates, learn from and hold on to the principles and values passed on by those who have given you unconditional love. I grew up in a home just a few miles from here, raised by a mother who from a young age was left on her own with 2 boys and a mortgage. To support her dream that her sons attend Western, she worked double shifts as a nurse and social worker and transformed our home into a magical boarding house. So from childhood through adolescence, I was exposed to a parade of boarders who served as adult male role models and provided real-life lessons through their diversity. Gay and straight, black and brown, young and old, poor and poorer, drunk and sober, ex-convicts, newly landed immigrants, and even some with emotional, mental, and physical disabilities. In looking back, I now believe that our everyday interactions with these fascinating individuals provided a golden opportunity for my big brother and me to embrace a basic tenet in my mother's value system, as expressed best in the admonishment, quote, "You may be the most powerful cat in the room, but I will judge you based on how you treat others with less power than you." To her, indifference to the plight of others was inexcusable. I remind you that you also have mentors in your lives that care about you and are wise in the ways of the world. Value their judgment and the lessons they provide you as you face the future in a world they have already lived in. In closing, allow me to say that as you sit here today in the best country in the world, at one of the major universities, and having completed a significant step forward in your life's journey, what I wish for you is the joy that comes with leaving nothing on the table in the quest to finding your best self. Bon chance.